season race for season 3. This is the bronze race. We're heading over to Paul Ricard in France for a regular season preview. I don't think this race is going to count for anybody's championship, but it's going to give us some indication about where the field is sitting at the moment. My name's Webbo. I'm your commentator this evening, and joining me is my friend and regular F1 racer, Carrera fan. Carrera, good evening to you.
Good evening to you. It's nice to be back and nice to commentate on another F1 race.
Absolutely. We're making a bit of a habit of it lately, aren't we? But yeah, fantastic to have you on board. Give your view on everything. I think we'll be getting going fairly shortly, but there may be just some drivers that we're waiting on just to turn up or confirm whether they are going to turn up or not. So we'll get you underway as soon as possible. Like I say, we're just feeling our way around this new game. I've already had one glitch tonight, several glitches a couple of days ago, affecting the streams. So I think we're still beta testing this game for Codemasters, really. It's slightly embarrassing. But Carrera, what are the challenges that sit with our drivers in the Paul Ricard circuit? I imagine it's exit curbs again.
Yeah, there's a lot of curbs around here and a lot of places where you get under power on the curb. So that's definitely one thing to look out, especially with the new F1 2021 game. So that, as well as track limits, that's very easy to invalidate. If you push it too much, then, well, you're not going to be fairly happy. So multiple things to look forward to.
And a similar kind of mixed strategy picture, do you think, for this race?
For me, personally, I never really used to practice much on France, but I would imagine that it could be a one-stopper, 27 laps. There are a few fast corners, obviously, throughout the track that takes a lot of wear off the tires, so
yeah,
it's going to be interesting. Of course, you never know what the weather's going to be like. Of course, we have it on random dynamic, apologies. So anything can come into the mix today.
absolutely. Yeah, we're hoping to enjoy some aspects of the new damage model, if at all possible. Perhaps not quite as frequent safety cars as we can see. Fairly normal kind of normal settings as we've got here. We're going for short qualifying format, 50% race, standard sim settings, and standard safety car prevalence and everything. I'm just wanting to check here whether we've got a formation lap. That's usually pretty important from a commentary perspective, but I can't see it in any of the settings, which is kind of annoying. Hopefully we will get going fairly soon. And these drivers just getting used to the new game. We're all getting used to these lovely new fresh batch of glitches as well from Codemasters. Alright, fingers crossed for a straightforward stream from now on anyway tonight. I can't see about the formation lap, so we're just going to have to wait and see on that front. Drivers tonight, we've got not many teams represented because we've got both Mercedes and Aston Martin cars are populated, and then just 3 other drivers so far. A bit of a poor turnout. I think many more were expected.
Yeah, it's going to be, well, very simple color palette for today. It's either into the dark blues or the very light blues, or slight greenish, you could say, for the Aston Martin. So there's no orange, there's no red for the Ferrari. There's no other people, unless we currently have another driver who's also spectating us. I don't know if he wants to be a commentator like us too, but if he decides to race, then hopefully he can pick another team and we can get a little bit of Tifosi red in there.
Yeah, we'll wait and see to see what happens here. So we haven't got any nationalities listed against anybody's names in the lobby, which is often something of an indicator as to how to pronounce their names often. We've got a dude multi who I think is a Man United fan. We've got Passion Fruit, Winfield, Fleecy's here with Robert, Daniel we'll go with here, and let's say copy paste. That's quite easy for us to go with there, Quera. It could be more difficult, I guess, some of these.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty obvious to find out that a dude is a Man United fan. I don't think we need any explanation to that. But same for Lando F1 fan. I think that's more than enough.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's our rival or alternate commentator tonight, Lando fan. So we'll see if he's more of a regular for DRL. So hopefully we will actually ready up shortly. I'm not seeing anybody going. I think we're just doing that mad scramble to see if anyone's going to show. I don't know if we've got reserve drivers prepared and ready. I do hope we get going fairly shortly because I've got another appointment later on for a different league. And depending on safety cars and things, this can run on at France. Just trying to track what's going on in the chat and see who is whether we're getting closer to anybody turning up or announcing to ready up. Passion Fruit is our host, so I'm sure his word will be gospel as it comes to when we press the green button. Got a new person, Shade, showing up here. Is he going to choose a non-blue-green colour scheme, I wonder?
It's all a moment of truth now.
Yes, he's going to go with Ferrari. So we have one colour that's easy, and it looks like we're ready to head out to the track for our qualifying session.
It's going to be a very, very, I wouldn't say difficult to spot the cars, but the issue around Paul Ricard, it's either blue or red in the background, obviously on the track. And the teams we've got are all either blue or one red Ferrari, including the Aston Martins, which still are quite easy to miss out around Paul Ricard. So
absolutely,
we'll do our best.
Yeah, it's that's hilarious. We're colour coordinated for the track tonight. And maybe some of the trees in the background. So it looks like we'll be starting with 8 drivers. So let's hope that they can give each other enough room, particularly on that tricky formation lap. And if we have any restarts or caution periods, because we don't want to lose anybody tonight. This is right down there on the bare minimum we can host a valid race for. Let's see who can get themselves set up and out there ready on the track first. And yeah, I'm coming into this one completely blind. Carrera, I don't know who the people are to look out for, who the best drivers are in this division. I'd have to say probably Passion Fruit will be up there as a league admin and host of the session. But let's join copy paste because he's the first one out the pits.
Yeah, he's currently the only man currently going for the medium, so he could potentially try and start the race on the mediums. That could give us an indication, but actually now we've got MS Winfield going on the medium, so
yeah,
he has selected for those.
I imagine the hard tyre is a viable tyre at this track with the high deg.
Yeah, it's actually not too bad around here. Of course, it comes to driver preference as well. But you do have a few fast corners, but you can really maximize those hard tires. So that's definitely an option for these drivers tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, copy paste is going for car number 21, and he's heading down this second part of the Mistral straight right now into super fast section. Probably a fair crank of downforce on the cars tonight, Carrera, despite those long straights.
Yeah, it's a very tricky one around here. It's also been tricky around Spa because you've got two very long straights at Spa, and here you've got, in fact, you've got three. You've got the start-finish straight, you've got the two back straights, and you can also count the one after the first chicane. So they're going to have to sacrifice downforce for some parts for top speed. But anyway, it's a sacrifice that'll have to be well thought as copy-paste goes for his first lap.
Yeah, throws the car into turn one there. Making good use of the apex curbs. It does seem you can ride those apex curbs, but best stay away from the exit ones. All looking pretty neat and tidy at the moment. Just probably a slight feathering, yeah, of the throttle through there, because you really can't get the car to behave around that corner, and you absolutely want to nail the throttle at your earliest opportunity for this straight. Just pick a random point on the track and try and make sure you're turning on the right piece of tarmac. Hitting every apex, Carrera, so far this lap.
Yeah, quite good, especially on a lower grip tyre, so he's going to want to hope that this is a good enough time to potentially start on these compounds. Of course, he can be using higher fuel runs, we don't know that, unfortunately, but I think this lap is looking very good, and it's going to be respectable compared to the other drivers' times.
Absolutely. Well, of course he'll go straight to the top because he'll be the first one to cross the line. But yeah, certainly there's not a lot of mistakes, and he doesn't appear to be pushing over the edge. He'll head down now with DRS open and fly under all those advertising hoardings with a 1:31.6. So as we say, straight to the top of the times, but Robert comes down the straight behind him and will cross on a 29.2, so significantly faster. So it does look like he's and Daniel is slotting in between the two of them, almost a whole second between all three of our top drivers, Carrera, and we have a 32.3 from Shade as well. It's not the best portent for the race if our drivers are going to have a second between each other. Fleecy goes second.
Yeah, as well, looking at fuel runs, we saw that, in fact, the all top three have got very low fuel. We can obviously see that on their indicator showing that they need to box of fuel. Same with copy-paste. Shade was running a little bit higher fuel, so that can kind of show how he's a little bit off the pace, but he is starting to get, he's just actually got the warning that he's now on low fuel. So, as well, he's not going to be too happy with that time. He's going to want to put something in there as well, because we still have three drivers who haven't put their lap in, and they can easily go higher than Shade. So he's going to have to go out and hopefully give something better.
Absolutely. Well, MS Winfield, the other medium runner, is heading down. Will he beat copy-paste? Yeah, absolutely. Straight away into P4 with a 30.4. That has got to be a fairly happy banker lap on the medium tyres.
Yeah, P4, that's very good. Of course, we've got, and actually, while speaking, we've got Daniel actually just lost it. I don't know if he was on a time run. I assumed he was boxing due to the low fuel he's got, but he's just spun, and he's got Ferrari coming up behind, so I don't know if he was on the lap and he's been interrupted. But anyway, we've got two other cars, though, currently going on the lap. Passenger actually invalidated, so he's not going to be able to put a banker lap in yet, as a dude completely goes off. Takes a lot of inside curb, throws the car off the line, but he managed to keep the rears in place.
Getting a little bit greedy there. Has he shredded those tyres now, or will he go for another lap? He's seemingly cruising at the moment, so I wonder if he's just going to try and get a lap out of any traffic problems around here.
Yeah, he needs to recharge that battery. Of course, you lose a lot on all those straights, so he's on 70%. That could just be enough, but He's recharged it a bit, and he's going for another lap. Those tyres could be used again, but of course, whatever tyre he does his qualifying lap, that's the tyre he starts the race on. So he wants to use as little wear as he can.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder, does Passion Fruit also go back round again? I think he is. So I think Passion Fruit will be out there. He obviously invalidated early enough to bail on the lap and recover his energy. Go again then with Dude Multi.
Passion Fruit has done the fastest first sector of anyone, and he's on the medium, so that's a very surprising thing. He nearly invalidated it, in fact, but he just kept it within track limits, and he is the fastest through sector 1 on the mediums.
I just wonder whether that's that first lap purple glitch that we have, because Dude Multi also got purple in that first sector. I wonder if that's just relative to themselves, as we saw through F1 2020. So we'll see if it actually translates to a faster time. If it is, that's amazing.
Yeah, it seems like he's holding it very good, actually, being on board with him, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets it into the top 4 with this time so far, but of course he needs to have enough grip towards the final sections of the lap, and he's coming out.
Dude Multi is really struggling with his grip. He's got chronic oversteer at the end of this lap, really shredded those soft tyres. A 133.3 for Passion Fruit, and Dude Multi goes P2. So it shows what I know. It looked like he was really struggling with understeer in the last few corners, but maybe he gained enough on setup on the rest of his laps. But yeah, a lot of work to do for Passion Fruit.
Yeah, it's like we said earlier. That's a tough thing when it comes to tracks like France, Paul Ricard. It's either you focus on top speed or downforce. Of course, you can have a mix in between them, but of course then you can lose time in other places, and it all comes down to how much the driver practices with all these different setups and makes it to the perfect setup it can be. Absolutely. So yeah. But very
take
good
us through the track, Carrera, because Robert is just about to start again, and we'll see if he can break his own pole time.
Yeah, so Robert wants to take a wide line, not too much on the curbs, but he's been thrown off a bit through corner 1. That's going to affect him through corner 2, but he manages to keep it within track limits. Very good, and interesting to see sector 3 yellow flag take curbs. He wants to cut across that corner. He can cut across it, but he didn't manage to do so. Here, nice cut on the apex. Don't take too much throw on the curb. Can easily spin you. Take the earliest possible time you can get under power, which he does. DRS flap wide open, and now it comes to that downforce or top speed setup for this next 2 long straights. Braking into the corner, takes a nice apex, bit of curb, and here he can take some outside curb, but he invalidates as that.
Oh, he was so late on those brakes.
Just touched the curb.
And it was in sight. It was in sight. He was 8 thousandths over his first sector, so he was definitely on for a possible improvement. What about copy paste? I think he's about to start.
He's
about to finish his lap actually.
Or yeah, actually I believe he's starting because he's on 0 lap tires. So, but interesting thing is he's on 39% charge. I don't think that's going to be enough for the lap. He's going to recharge some through this first sector, but he's got 2 massive long straights coming up ahead, and he's already dropped to 32.
Well, let's change colour palette and have a look at Shades in the Ferrari. He's heading down there. He's got a lot of room for improvement. Does look to be struggling with his connection maybe. It's not great. The car's sort of lurching around somewhat, so difficult to keep watching him. We'll see him pass his first sector. He's got 1/10 under his time, so not enough to jump up any further up the grid at the moment. He needs to find a significant, unless he's on a keyboard or a controller.
Yeah, he looked like he was actually, he put too much brake pressure coming out of that first sector, that he was actually a bit too slow, so he had to go back on the power. And then by the time he got back on the power, he had to brake for the next corner, so it just didn't seem like it flowed very well for that first sector. But as well, he has to time the next 3 corners right as well. We've seen a lot of drivers into this corner now take a lot of inside curb, which is a very surprising thing. He throws a lot completely, but he keeps that within track limits. And he gets under power a bit too early that he has to back off, but he keeps it within track limits. That's a very tough corner to master, because if you take it too early, you'll get thrown off the line, but if you take it too late, then you can definitely lose time. So he's kept it within track limits, but the question is, he needs to gain a lot of time, and seeing only 1/10 in the first sector is not enough. The question is, what can he do down this final straight?
Absolutely, he can only press his right foot down and head down. A big improvement. I mean, 9/10 was a very big improvement, but sadly it wasn't enough to get through beyond P7 at the moment. Let's have a look at Fleecy. He's managing to catch a toe from his teammate down the Mistral straight. So he'll be grateful for that, I think. Heading now into this really high downforce, high G-force, high everything, high complexity end of the lap. Looking pretty good at the moment. Currently P3 on a 30.2. So the front row is definitely within his reach. Fleecy then a little bit over steery on the way out the final corner, and crosses the line with a 30.5, so no improvement this time, but there is time to get round Carrera and go for one more hot lap.
Yeah, as well with Shade, I do believe he can actually get a good lap in as well. I think he's going to be boxing this up because he hasn't validated any low on short, and his DRS is, well, 10%, not very good, but as well, if he only gained 1/10 in that first sector and then came back for 9/10 throughout that lap, there's definitely time to be found in that first sector, which I think he can make the jump potentially to P6. I think he can, especially looking how he came back throughout that lap.
Dude Multi has left the session. I think that might be a retirement. I think he's decided he can go no faster than a 29.8. As I stay with Passion Fruit to see if he can string a lap together. I think he's had a mistake in his first lap. I think you mentioned Carrera, he invalidated his second attempt, so it's getting close to the edge now for Passion Fruit. Let's hope he can manage to hook up a lap, a banker lap, because I'm not sure he'll get back round in time for an extra one.
Yeah, very interesting, staying out, not boxing, so he must only have these set of tyres left, but he's going to go for a lap now. He could do, alternatively, could do 2 laps, he could have more fuel, but he gets thrown off in that second corner.
Yeah.
Doesn't invalidate, but I don't think that's going to really help. He didn't invalidate and he gets a bit off into the second chicane. We'll see how much he's down through that first sector. He's actually up 6/10.
Yeah, it goes to show just how safe he played the first sector in his previous lap. So definitely on for a better time. Whether he's able to get up to P7 or not, we'll see how the rest of the lap progresses. Riding that inside curb on the chicane very nicely.
Yeah, good rotation. Didn't use too much of the outside curb to spin the car around, so he's got that clear, and he is
Purple's the middle sector, 1.8 seconds faster than he's been there before.
This can definitely be a faster lap if it doesn't invalidate.
Oh, that was nice.
Takes a lot of power. Yeah, it's very risky around this sector. Easily lose the rear with the curve, especially this exit curve, but he stays clear of that. So looking to be a good lap now.
The grip levels can really surprise you on these soft tyres because of the distance involved in the French lap. They can just be ruined by the last 2 corners.
Yeah, that's what we've seen in last week in the actual.
There we go, straight up onto the front row for Passion Fruit. I think you'll be pretty happy with that one. A 29.8. Dude Multi might be ruining his early retirement from the session because that's very, very tight between him and Passion Fruit. But Passion Fruit goes from last to second on the grid. So nice improvement from him.
Yeah, it's going to be, as well, we have to pick out, obviously in qualifying, whatever tyre you get in top 10, obviously we only have 8 drivers, so whatever place you get, or whatever tyre you've got, that's what you're starting on. And out of everyone, they're all going to go on fresh softs now, but Passion Fruit's got 2 laps of wear on these tyres when everyone's only got 0 or 1 lap, so Of course, Fleecy does have 2 laps as well, but actually
Going
speaking
out
of
on an
Fleecy,
old
he's
set,
currently
isn't
on
he?
that lap, I believe.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
just...
2 laps old, so...
He's on an outlap, is he? He says outlap on my
Yeah.
screen. I was just watching Copy Paste, who's about to start his lap from P6. A 1:30.4 is his best time so far. And we'll catch
This is
back
gonna
up
be
with
very
Roberts.
interesting for Fleecy, because by the time he starts his lap, that'll make it to 3 laps. And of course he's got to do his actual lap, and then the in-lap, so that can go up to maybe 4 or 5.
I wonder
depending on
if it's possible
if
that he
backs off
just
or-
forgot to change tyres.
Yeah, it's well, when you're boxing in and you're under the time limit, it's very easy to just mistake, and then it will nearly loses the rear, and he doesn't need that, especially if he wants to have a good lap, despite starting on all the tyres. But
Yeah,
he's starting
quarter
on
of a
his lap
second
now.
over for Copy Paste in the first sector. So I've switched perspective to look at Winfield. He was well under his time, but he had a bit of a moment in the third sector. So I don't know if it's enough to gain a place or two. Pretty tight above his current timings, and straight up to P2. I wonder if we're seeing some track evolution here tonight, Carrera, because that's a remarkable improvement. 129.3.
Yeah, it looked like the Astons were on the back foot, but they've managed to pull
Yeah.
P2 and P3, and so it's now the Mercedes that are on the back foot, but currently on the lap with Fleecy 2.5 tenths up for that first sector. This is very good, and he's looking to get a lot of rotation and manage to ride the curve, so it's looking like it could be a very good lap. He's currently 0.05 up through the sector, so it needs to try and pull out more if he'd like to steal the position from his teammate.
Well, last runs now
I
for
don't think
everybody. I'm sitting with Robert, who is a shade under his top time, and see if he can actually better that pole position. I don't see Winfield, Passion Fruit improving to threaten him. This is just a glory run, really. See what he can
Yeah,
do.
as well,
There's a yellow flag,
Daniel
just the car
can-
getting out of the way.
yeah, Daniel can get potentially P6 from copy paste, but he's very close because he didn't improve that much, but he just improved around less than a tenth, so it could be enough to steal it from copy paste. We'll see what he's on now. Final straight now, everything he's got is enough to steal P6. Yes, it is.
Terrific. So P6 for Daniel. The last lap on track is going to be Robert. Didn't catch his middle sector. Oh, look, it's a dabs on the throttle on the way out of the final corner. I've not seen that technique before. Round here, sprints for the line then, and a massive improvement. There's a marker being laid down, a 128.6 fastest lap in the dying seconds of qualifying from Robert. Brilliant lap. 28.6, Carrera. That's certainly him making a statement, and perhaps putting a marker out there to suggest he may need to go into the Silver League.
Yeah, very good lap as well. Other people actually weren't getting the laps in as well. MS Winfield, who was actually someone who could take pole from him, invalidated early on. Obviously, Robert did not know that, but he still put in a cracking time, 7 tenths clear of P2.
Absolutely. Great lap. Won't take us long to read out the grid tonight, Carrera. But
I'll tell you, it's much easier though.
Quite appropriately, we've got an Alpine on the front row in France, so the crowd will be happy. Robert, the sole Alpine in a 128.6, as we mentioned, getting back pole position. Then we've got Winfield and Passion Fruit, Aston Martin teammates together, followed by Dude Multi and Fleecy, Mercedes teammates together. And got Daniel in the Red Bull, copy paste in the AlphaTauri, and bringing up the rear is Shade Mabs in the Ferrari, quite appropriately given the shocker that Ferrari had in the Grand Prix in France this year.
So it's going to be very interesting, obviously, having an Alpine in the front, but as well, this could be very interesting for the teams. Aston Martin versus Mercedes for the 2 podium positions. And as we speak, it's looking very grey, isn't it?
It's looking a bit dark. The lights are on in the garage. It's I wonder if we're about to have some changeable weather conditions as well.
It would be very interesting to see, spice things up as well, but as well, when you're coming to France, you have to expect that anything can happen here.
No, absolutely. One of the things I learned in the French Grand Prix this year in watching one of the support races was apparently the tarmac. Looks like we will be having a formation lap, thankfully. The tarmac and setup here in Paul Ricard is designed to do wet weather testing. So it's actually designed to retain moisture on the track surface and not drain it away.
Yeah, I actually have seen a lot of teams come here actually to practice the wet weather setup. Of course, because lots of 24 hours in GT style racing. So
Yeah.
as well, looking at the suggested pit stop strategy, saying soft, medium, soft, soft, medium, medium. So two stoppers looking to be potentially an option for the drivers out there.
I think if they're starting on used softs, then you're almost certain to need a two-stop here.
Yeah, that's what it could be, but as well, you've got to keep in mind that the weather is looking very grey, so
yeah,
anything can happen. But if we could get more of an indication to what that weather forecast is, that'd be amazing. But unfortunately, we'll just have to wait and see.
Absolutely, there looks like some lights on in the surroundings of the track. I don't know if we've just got a late start to the track, and this is sort of dusk. Definitely some street lights and some floodlights on in the background of the track view. So yeah, I wonder if this is just an evening start or it's just the the meteorological effects.
Yeah, it's looking as well very sort of foggy as well. It's just looking like the visibility's dropped down. Obviously, when it's overcast, that can happen, but it's just looking like it's very, very foggy morning. So it can be maybe it's very early in the morning. Who knows? But yeah, yeah. Whenever the lights are coming on, maybe that could give us a sign that there's some rain. But
not making it easy for us identifying the different cars either.
Yeah,
this low light is difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Aston as well turns very dark. Almost looks like a Mercedes at some points, even currently on the F1 races. But anyway, it's going to be an Alpine from two Astons, from two Mercedes, from a Red Bull, from an AlphaTauri, from the Ferrari.
That's right. Well, I hope everyone's careful at the start because, like I say, we can ill afford to lose any more drivers. Here come the lights, helpfully blocked by Emirates, and it's lights out and away we go, with Robert getting away pretty well, but looks like he's got some challenge into the first corner. Yeah, getting around nice and safely with a big hold up from the first of the Mercedes as they go side by side on the exit of turn 3. Fleecy struggling there with momentum and 3 wide into turn 5. Looks like the Red Bull's got the inside line. Unfortunately, that becomes the outside. Sneaking up the inside there of the AlphaTauri comes Fleecy. So getting a good lot of traction out of that corner. Red Bull all over the place. Red Bull of Daniel just really struggling with cars moving around the track in front of him. What about up the front though? Robert has lost the lead under the slipstream from Winfield. You're always vulnerable, Carrera, to being the first car heading down that straight as the Alpine comes back.
Yeah, Passion Fruit has lost it as well. Coming out of that first sector, so many cars were struggling on the rear. Passion Fruit was one of them, and so did you say as well with Daniel. So this has been horrible for Passion Fruit. He's dropped down 5 places. And same for Robert, of course, never good to lose the lead.
No, absolutely. Looks like Robert is struggling with the wake through these fast corners. Just getting a wash out of aero as he ends up on and possibly over the exit curbs, but he will get that back with a toe down this straight and then of course down the 2 sections of the Mistral straight. Must be a fantastic thing to watch cars going the entire length of the Mistral straight without a chicane. Not very safe, but heading down into turn 1, they are in formation at the moment. Cars just gapping each other slightly, and everyone hoping to get out of DRS range from their closest challenger, AlphaTauri. Just getting a nose in the mirrors of the Red Bull. probably not much in the way of team politics going on between Red Bull and AlphaTauri tonight.
Yeah, the AlphaTauri looking very aggressive, wants to come back at the Red Bull, but Red Bull does look like he has some decent slipstream and from the Merc and decent straight line speed, but
yeah,
it's not enough for the AlphaTauri. But of course, one thing we need to remember is it's very different quali and race. The setups, we could see a completely different race from other people. It depends on what setup they've got, if it's a race or quali, or if it fits well by staying behind other cars, or if it's purely just for qualifying pace. So that's something we need to keep in mind.
Yeah, Robert is trying to stay with Winfield and succeeding, certainly up to this point in our second lap of 27. He's lost the lead, but definitely trying to keep the pressure on the Aston in front of him of Winfield. We've got third is Dude Multi, who is also staying within sight and within DRS of second place, and his teammate Fleecy, a bit of a gap there down to fourth place. Daniel in fifth, close with copy paste close behind him as well, with Shade, Mabs, and I think Passion Fruit may well have gone to AI because he's looking at. No, he is back. I think he's back with us. Just the tower just adjusted for us, and it looks like he's about 8 seconds back from P7. Potentially, I don't think he's pitted yet.
Robert wants to clear on. Ray Dude Multi has lost it. He's lost it. Is he out? He is. That right rear is gone. So the question is, what is it going to be to virtual safety car for now? But it could easily change to a full-on safety car.
Yeah. Well, these soft tyre runners will probably be grateful for a little bit of a rest, but it might be just that the guys all decide to head into the pits. Is it too early for a pit stop, Carrera, at this stage in the race? Whoa!
Well,
sorry, Robert just took an ultra wide line.
Yeah, it's actually, speaking of Robert, he's got damage. So he's got damage left front on the wing. He's got no end plate, so he could pit because this is his only chance. That it's not a safety car, so it's not alternatively a free pit stop, but you could sort of say it's a half pit stop, and he does look like he wants to box. He is boxing.
Yeah.
So he's taking this as an opportunity. But as well, I was going to say, Robert needed to get past MS Winfield because he had the A Dude Multi right at the back of him and could easily get DRS and needed to get through. But
looks like a pretty long,
he's going to be glad.
A long caution period here for the drivers. Given that it's just a virtual safety car, you'd almost expect them to deal with that pretty quickly. Robert has put medium tyres on and was the only driver to opt for a pit stop, but as you say, damage was one of the reasons he made that stop. Would it just have been a curb he got that damage, or he possibly would have hit the car in front?
Well, that's the interesting thing, is he managed to follow MS Winfield's throughout the majority of the lap, so I don't think he had damage during that period.
We're back to green. We're back to green, and it looks like the Red Bull has jumped out of the slipstream of Fleecy, looking to challenge into the chicane. Took a greedy amount of curb, pick up some penalties as a result, and I think he's going to be completely compromised on the way out of that chicane. Certainly blocking Fleecy a little bit, who's going to pick up a penalty himself. A little bit of wheel banging.
Daniel loses it.
I was going to say what a save, but no, tank slap back round again, and he hasn't hit anything. But one of the other really big challenges of this game is getting the tyres back under you after going off track, Carrera. It's really hard.
Yeah, it depends, of course, the track and when you restart. Of course, sector 3 as well. If it's a track like this, you've got that chicane towards the end, so obviously it's very slow, especially like Barcelona. So yeah, especially of course if you go on a harder compound as well. It's just very, very tricky in general. But speaking of pit stop, Daniel has boxed.
He has boxed.
Completely got rid of those. He must have gotten rid of those softs with that spin.
Yeah, I mean he would have absolutely wiped out those softs when he going off track like he did.
Yeah, and speaking of Robert, that question whether pit stop were available at that time.
oversteer moment for Fleecy through that just before the first sector timing beam, which should mean that copy paste has got a good run on the Mistral. Yeah, it looks like he's getting by.
Yeah, it should be with ease. Same lap ball tyres, but Fleecy just seemed to struggle a little bit more on the rears. Copy paste looks a lot more solid in this race than he did in qualifying.
Absolutely.
So maybe that could mean that he's got potentially a race setup. But Fleecy had a little look, was gaining obviously with the ERS, and I don't believe DRS is on that straight actually. But
no.
Yeah, so talking about that pit stop, whether Robert could do that two-stopper, it could be possible. If you're doing a two-stopper, you can make one of the medium stints work, go slightly longer with it. So, in a way,
he'd have to do a double medium now, wouldn't
he? He would certainly have to go longer on one of the tires. So whether that be this set or the next set.
Pit stop for Fleecy right on the strategy. Sorry, Carrera, but pit stop for Fleecy, looking for the undercut to regain that place from copy paste. So, wow,
he's going on soft. So this is going to be that's a very risky gamble to put there, but he's going to obviously be the fastest one out of the field. So, in a way, if this is a two set of softs and one medium strategy, this could actually help because he's in fresh air and you can start to put the laps in. As we said, Daniel has completely lost it. So I wonder if that's going to bring out a VSC or a safety car.
Lost it and gone, yeah. That's a DNF, a full-on DNF for Daniel. I wonder what happened there. Sadly, I wasn't watching him. I was thinking that copy-paste would have hit hammer time right now.
Yeah, if that's a VSC or a safety car, Fleecy could impact him because he's dropped down the field, but then he'll be the freshest tyres. He'll have the freshest tyres out of everyone. So he could make up ground, but it could be some very clever thinking from Fleecy. Get into clear air, put the laps in. If it's going to be two sets of softs and a medium, get the clear air, get the laps in, and could potentially gain some places when he comes to that second pit stop.
Absolutely. Well, I haven't seen Winfield does go for the pits. It's a yellow flag at the moment. Absolutely no sign of any of the safety car variants as copy paste follows suit and heads to the pits. Shade Mavs is in as well. Perfect timing for those soft tyre runners. Winfield back out again. He's heading out of the pits. I don't think he'll get past, but I did notice Robert putting in fastest laps and really putting the hammer down. He goes past the current leader of Winfield and re-inherits the lead. So that early pit stop, Carrera, he's only on 3 lap older mediums and it's really worked out so far.
Yeah, that's good, but as well, he's got to go 3 laps potentially longer than he would have liked than the others, of course. So it's going to be very interesting. Fleecy as well, he's not too far back. He's around 10 seconds to MS Winfield, so he's going to have to really make this stint work if he wants to. But
look at those mirrors for Fleecy, because it does look like he got the undercut on copy-paste, but copy-paste is absolutely staring at the back of that car once again. He's on mediums, Fleecy's on softs, so if you can stay with him for 2 or 3 laps, they will overlap in terms of pace and tyre life. So let's see what copy paste can do. He's just dropped out of DRS actually through the chicane.
Yeah, he at this point I think he has to remain patient because of course we're only on lap 7 out of 27. So I think honestly it could come back to him because if clearly Fleecy's gone for 2 sets of softs, he should go to a medium or hard. So it could be potential strategy for copy paste to then go on a set of softs at the end. So then he should have an advantage. So it could come back to him at the end of this race.
It's all about total race time. It's not necessarily about lap to lap or track position. We have 6 runners left. We only started with 8, and your order right now on lap 8 as Fleecy gets fastest lap on those soft tyres. Your order is Robert from Winfield, Fleecy, Copy Paste, Shade Maps and Passion Fruit making out your field at the moment. Unfortunately, the cars have gapped each other, so we will be hoping to see some drama either from a car kind of losing adhesion to the track surface or making a mistake in some respect, but it's going to be difficult because we can't see any cars kind of closing on each other at the moment.
Yeah, we need to as well check Fleecy and Copy Paste, because these two are people who were battling on track, obviously with their strategy has separated them, but they're going to be ones to look out when Copy Paste goes for that better tire, and then Fleecy, he can't box another set of softs, he has to go mediums or hards.
Yeah.
So it should come back to Copy Paste towards the end, so we could get some action, as I believe Fleecy should pull away as he has been doing so far. In fact, actually quite a bit of a gap.
Quite quickly. But he's not necessarily catching the second place of MS Winfield at the same rate. I'm interested to ride on board with Robert Carrera and see what you think. To what degree is he looking after these tyres, or is he just committing to a more of a series of sprints, do you think?
Well, he's definitely looked like he was pulling away for a few laps to make that gap work to MS Winfield, and obviously you can understand why with so many long straights. The guy behind is going to pick up a massive toe, so he wants to build up that gap, which he has to, and he's reached around 4.1 second gap, and he seemed to keep it there, so he must have known what he's doing. Get that gap, stop the slipstream from happening to his rival, and then just keep that delta the same lap after lap. And
that's not going to help. Running onto that blue surface isn't going to help the tyre life. Doesn't appear to be sort of short shifting or no longer trail braking. Seems to be pushing as hard as ever. I don't know, to my eye, Carrera, it looks like he's committing himself to continuing to push rather than eke these tyres out any longer.
Yeah, you can tell from that chicane just there, he almost cuts the curb as if he's pushing. So as well, we gotta remember that he pitted 3 laps earlier under that VSC, so he's either gonna go longer to make the stint work out like everyone else, or he's just gonna have to completely use them and then potentially go on a slightly different strategy, which I think he might be doing here.
Yeah.
And going to another set of mediums at the end.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look like he's on a conservation run here. But his gap is just hovering around the 4.2 seconds, which is neither an extra pit stop nor potentially enough to defend against a soft runner at the end. Fleecy pulling away, as we've said before, from Copy Paste in 4th, but not really catching MS Winfield, as Robert catches a penalty there, pushing to that degree.
Yeah, MS Winfield hasn't looked like he's been pushing too much. He did make a few little mistakes. He rides the curb, doesn't get a track limit warning. He does look like he's throwing the car around a lot more, but not to a point that he's actually pushing. So he could just potentially be getting these tyres longer and then go to that set of softs, unlike Robert, which I highly doubt he could make softs work. Because remember, at the end of this day, right now, it's only 10 laps we've done so far. And Robert's on 6 lap all tyres.
Oh, look at that. We get a tyre performance visual. Very nice. So, yeah, looking at 30 odd percent, really leaning on his fronts, according to AWS anyway. I haven't seen that new visual come up on the on a stream yet before, but that was good. They gave us a comparison of tyre wear between Robert and Winfield. Did you catch that, Carrera?
No, unfortunately I didn't know. For a second I thought you were making it up, but but yeah, we could tell that Robert was leaning more on those fronts through the curbs. He was riding them more, he was pushing more, so
yeah, it's
all about. But looking from the off-board cameras, it does look like MS Winfield is starting to catch up, but the delta to the two cars is actually the same. In fact, actually more. So it's a bit odd, but
absolutely.
Robert really cuts a corner. He goes very wide indeed. Doesn't actually get a penalty. I think he backed off there.
Yeah, I think that's the same place he caught a penalty last time. It's obviously his favoured line, but it's It's a risky game. We've only got 2 drivers in the grid so far who have no penalties at all, and they're both driving Aston Martins.
Yeah, MS Winfield actually is within 5 seconds, and Robert has got 3 seconds of penalties. And Robert did seem to look like he was coming across the curb, so very high risk to get another warning or a penalty even.
Yeah.
And that can play back, because all it takes is Robert to get one more penalty, and MS Winfield is well within that 6 seconds.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those tracks that can be quite easy to lose focus and just forget where you are momentarily on track, because it looks so similar everywhere. A little bit like Russia, I guess. You know, just that kind of fairly repetitive feel to it. And to what degree does the ability to focus and know every inch of this track really play into a 50% race here, Carrera?
Well, definitely doing long runs, so whether that means doing a practice race exactly like the format is today, or doing lots of laps in time trial. Of course, time trial isn't the best way to do race pace testing, but it is some sort of testing in a way. But yeah, all it takes is really just once you get to that line and you know it lap after lap, then it should easily just be like remembering how to ride a bicycle. It's just about keeping that focus and just minding on everything, on everything but F1, and focus on the F1 game. Don't think about how F1
else,
drivers take it. Just focus on the F1 game. How is the best line to take it? And of course, there's so many blue, white, and red lines around here, so it can be tricky. But
I think we're about to get some action, Carrera. Passion Fruit has closed into Shades and is heading down the Mistral with DRS. So he's caught significantly quickly over the last couple of laps. Completely misjudges his braking, completely overshoots. I wonder if he had to sort of bail out of that. And was caught out by Shades' either track position or choice of braking point, but all that effort just gone to waste as Robert heads to the pits after only 8 laps on those mediums.
Yeah, we saw, actually, I was keeping an eye on the Delta, and it looked like MS Winfield was starting to come back at him. The question is, what tires is he going on now? He's going on mediums. So if he's only done around...
a 3-stopper?
I believe he was on... Yeah, if he's only done around, I'd say he did 9 laps on the set of mediums. Surely 9 laps.
Fascinating.
Get to the end.
Surely you'd opt for hards in that environment, right?
Yeah, because if he only did 9 laps, he must have known that the tires were completely gone at that point. Otherwise, he wouldn't have boxed. But if they went after 9 laps, it's very surprising he's going to another set of mediums. We never know if he maybe went on a medium run in quali. I think he was one of the drivers who didn't use a set of mediums. So the question is, if he's going for another set of mediums, he's going to have to pull out a very long stint. But of course, we know some drivers here could potentially box for a set of softs towards the end if they go long enough.
I think this might be Passion Fruit's moment. Shade really leery on the way onto the Mistral straight. Looks like Passion Fruit's going to get an easy DRS overlap. Very inconvenient camera view. No, Shades is defending hard, very, very hard, but it looks like the additional, slightly more conventional lines that I'm seeing from Passion Fruit were enough to get him back on traction, driving. I think it's car 69 with Passion Fruit, but he goes from last place up to 5th, a jump of 1. So your order at the moment, as Robert is also closing in on copy paste. I fully expect Passion Fruit to drive away from Shade now, and Robert now trying to make headway. It looks like he's managed to pass Fleecy in the pits. He's got his DRS open and he's heading closely behind this AlphaTauri. Yeah, kind of have to follow the car in front through these corners though. There's really no opportunity to pass here. Yeah,
he's just got to be patient, of course, because you don't actually want to be the leading car out of this corner, because then your rival behind will get that tow and DRS. But just to put into comparison, Felici did 7 laps on the softs, and Robert only did 9. So
Yeah.
it's a very surprising thing, but it should be Robert getting an easy move, which he does.
Nice easy pass there. I'm going to have to remember that camera angle is awful at the moment for catching the action.
Yeah, it should be easier for Robert. Of course, he's on much newer tires, so.
Yeah.
But as well, it looks like maybe MS Winfield could take note of that choice from Robert. Maybe Robert was just pushing those tires too much, so maybe that's why MS Winfield and the other drivers on the mediums were basically balancing it more and taking ease on those tires. So that could potentially be a reason, but of course we don't actually know until we can actually ask the drivers that.
Well, it looked like he was really heavy on his fronts. From that graphic that came up, it looks like he probably needs to dial his brake bias back, because and if he watches this back, I don't know if that's a fair comment or if it's a deliberate setup decision, but he was clearly using the fronts much heavier than the rears.
Yeah, we could even see it. He cuts the curbs without getting a track limit warning. But as well, it's just the usage of those tires. I think it's put him in a bad position, because definitely MS Winfield has the box. I think we could both say and agree to that. But as well, I don't see how Robert could go another 13 laps on these tires if he only did 9.
I'd be surprised if drivers are getting more than 11 out of these mediums today. It certainly seems like those tires are fading fast.
Yeah, and as well, if they both have to stop, at the end of the day, Robert is 14 seconds down, so it's not like MS is pitting and he's staying out to the end. So that at this phase, he needs to pull the laps in now. He has to do what he did in the last in and just forget about it and know that they're going for another stop and just get the times in now at this phase, because otherwise he's going to be well off MS Winfield.
Yeah, certainly at the moment advantage to MS Winfield, and we'll see what Robert ends up doing. He's got a 13-second gap on lap 16, so we are now past the halfway point as MS Winfield heads into his 9th lap on these medium tyres. Another fastest lap from Robert, 131.5. Shade has gone into the pits. Yeah.
It's very interesting now. So he's got around 11, 12 laps to go. So he could potentially option for the mediums, I guess. It depends what tyres he's got available. And I believe he is going to the mediums. He is. But he's waited in the pits for rather a little longer than he would have wanted. So it was just down to the reaction. But he could get to the end, but it would be a struggle. But as well, it's going to be very interesting to see what people like Felici and Robert do. And Robert picks up another penalty, 6 seconds penalties compared to MS Winfield. And remember, he's 12 seconds off Winfield, so that's the last thing he needs. He's already further enough from him, and he's just getting more penalties. But it proves to us that he is really pushing now to the absolute limit.
He is. It seems to be one of these drivers who only knows how to drive quali laps, and that's no shade on him. That can obviously be a strength in some respects, but race management potentially, Carrera, would you identify as something that maybe Robert could do with working on a bit here?
Yeah, I think that's what's actually costing him in this race, because he was leading this race, he was P2, but he was very close to taking the lead. Obviously, that virtual safety car came out.
Yeah.
But he was very close to leading this race, but now he's 11 seconds off, and both cars have to make a pit stop, so it should still be advantage to Winfield. So he's definitely lost out, but when it comes to moments like these, where he has to push, it's definitely a good thing. But he does need to work on a bit, maybe potentially managing those tyres more for a race pace, like we saw with his previous stint.
Right, there's not a lot he can do in the cockpit during the race. I mean, he can make an adjustment to the downforce at a pit stop, but tightening up maybe the differential. But really, for me, the only real option is changing the brake bias and maybe just adjusting the driving style is really all you can do once the race has begun and we're in Parc Fermé. But what else can he do from a setup point of view, Carrera, to help with that tyre management?
Well, it all comes down to the ride heights, the front wings, obviously, and the rear wings, level of downforce he's putting on. Of course, we don't have that information available with us.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to what setup as well he went for. If he went for a quali style setup or a race setup. For me, I think Winfield's definitely gone more with a race setup because he's looking more consistent with his lap times, and as well he didn't get pole in the race, but he's looking to be stronger than he was in qualifying in this race right now.
Well, copy paste is headed to the pits. He's decided that this is the exact delineation for the rest of the race. Another set of mediums, so completely splitting the remainder of the race against his usage of the tyres. So 10 laps to go and 10 laps done on his previous set of tyres. Heading back out there. So absolutely perfect soft, medium, medium, and the drivers are so far apart from each other at the moment, Carrera. I don't think we're very likely to get a safety car and change anybody's strategy.
Yeah, it's all coming down to the drivers now. Just no mistakes can happen as MS Winfield goes very wide onto those curbs. Didn't get a penalty, but I think he could have got a warning with that. But yeah, it looks like Robert has backed off on the pace. He was lapping very quick compared to MS Winfield, but he is still lapping quicker, but not at the same rate he was. He's just outside 10 seconds, actually. He's just going into the 9 seconds now. Of course, though, these drivers need to do push laps and then recharge that battery, so that could, of course, be a thing. But looking at the battery situation as well, they're both on a similar battery situation, so
I'm surprised
neither
to see
driver is going to have that battery available.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see Winfield not going to the pits there. I think he's committing to just one more stop for soft tyres. There's very little point hanging out there on aged mediums that you've already gone off running wide due to unexpected drop in grip, unless that's your plan. Am I right, Carrera? I mean, he must now be committed to softs.
Yeah, but of course, seeing the amount of grip there is, he obviously wants to make this stint last longer than much longer to help those soft tires, of course. But as well, he does have that availability and that feature to him because his nearest rival's 9 seconds down and he has a 6-second penalty.
Right.
Meaning he sort of can wait it out a bit more because normally Robert needs to catch up 8 seconds. As I say that, he's got another penalty, 9 seconds.
Yep.
So Robert needs to basically clear 18 seconds. So he needs to get 9 seconds ahead of him and obviously gain 9 seconds where he's behind. So, but as well, looking at MS Winfield to see when he comes in for a pit stop, because I'm sure these tyres are not going to go to the end.
No, indeed. But Winfield is
like
the only driver at the moment.
In the box.
Here he goes. Yeah, I wonder if that was a lap too late for the optimal race strategy. But he's got a really comfortable margin and doesn't have to maximise absolutely everything here. Let's see if he's brave enough to put on softs at this point in the race.
Which he is.
He is. Wow. Okay.
Softs.
So he loses the lead back to Robert. He'll need a gentle outlap to look after these soft tyres, and he will need to do a little bit of tyre management to get these an additional 8 laps out of these ones.
Yeah, but as well, just actually realizing what's been happening here, Robert is on mediums, obviously all the tyres, and actually Winfield gets his first penalty, so that's actually as well going to help.
That's
Robert,
really helps, yeah.
Robert is on 7 laps. Obviously, we've seen how much they've struggled, but I think Robert's best chance now is to stay out.
Stay out there, yeah.
Because he's got to clear 6 seconds, and obviously he is only 14 seconds ahead, so it's not enough for a pit stop window, so he's going to be struggling. Of course, MS Winfield will be fast on these softs, but when it came down to pure pace, it looked like Robert had the edge. But it's leveled the playing field with Winfield having their set of softs.
Absolutely. He'll get some pace now, and as you say, needs to get within 6 seconds to get the win by penalties. Nobody likes to win that way. I'm sure he'll be wanting to try and close this in, but it will work counter. Pushing too hard will definitely work counter to his need to get these softs to the end. Robert is on a similar struggle. He's going to have to try and really treat those mediums gently. I think we've only seen 12 laps on the medium, and it looked like a lap too late for Winfield. So if Robert is going to try and get 14 out of these, he'll need to be being incredibly careful with them. So your order on lap 21. Go ahead.
Sorry, so he's essentially 7 seconds clear, obviously. Now it's actually dropped, but he was 13 seconds ahead of Winfield. Obviously, Winfield needs to gain 6 seconds, so he's effectively got 7 seconds to Winfield. So he's got to manage them, but as well, the more laps go, the more grip he's just going to lose compared to Winfield. So it's a really tough situation now for Robert.
Absolutely. Let's see what he can do in terms of tyre preservation. It's lap 21. He's got a 12-second lead, which is only a net 6-second lead when you take into account penalties. Though, of course, that picture could change through the rest of the race. From Winfield in the Aston Martin, we've got Fleecy in 3rd place, 27 seconds back from the leader, and then copy-paste in the AlphaTauri. Passion Fruit closing now towards copy-paste, trying to get a good result out of this race, despite the early lap difficulties he suffered. And then Shade bringing up the rear in the Ferrari. As I say, it's only right and proper, really, that Ferrari have a difficult race on F1 2021 in France, because it really was their worst race of the season. Let's go back to the gaps, because I think Passion Fruit is starting to catch, and we'll keep an eye on the rest of the drivers. We did have Winfield, the only driver without penalties, but unfortunately that recent track limit abuse moment did make him catch up with the rest of the field. Passion Fruit, fastest lap. He's got soft tyres. I think he stopped to the end, and he's trying to get these to the end now. So let's have a look. How old are those tyres on Passion Fruit? 2 laps. Should be able to get these to the end. Looking for a 7-lap stint. And he heads down to the Mistral straight to try and overtake copy-paste here with the help of some DRS and some very fast sector times. How hard is copy-paste going to defend? Very hard. Makes him go the long way around. He'll need to get something done on braking. He should have bags more grip, and gets the job done on the outside. Just pure pace difference and grip on these soft tyres. Passion Fruit's next target, it's 9 seconds up the road, so not impossible, but a difficult job to do in the remaining 5 laps of the race.
Yeah, this is a very important race for Aston Martin, because they can pinch P1 and potentially P3 with Passion Fruit. So of course they're going to want to get both cars on the podium, but MS Winfield is really starting to take a chunk out of Robert's time now. Effectively, he's got, I believe, 4 seconds clear when you take that penalty into consideration.
Right.
So as well, he's got 5 laps, including this one, to pull whatever he's got and get as fast as he can. As Robert's got another penalty.
No!
That is absolutely taken away, but he's technically still alright. He's got 9 seconds, but the gap is 9.9. So effectively, MS Winfield needs 9/10 to catch up.
Fleecy!
Fleecy's out.
I'm going to ride with Passion Fruit to see if we can see any evidence of what happened to Fleecy, but is that just tyre death causing that issue? I can't see him. I didn't see him on the track. He obviously went a long way away from the from the main track, so we've got just a yellow flag there in sector 2 at the moment, but we say goodbye to Fleecy and the entire Mercedes team.
Yeah, he must have dropped it on the rear coming out of that corner. Could be. That'd be my best guess.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're on older lap tires, I'm not sure. I'm actually checking currently. He was on 9-lap tires, so it must have been quite a really tough time for him. But you can only imagine now what Robert's having to do with an 11-lap old tire.
Absolutely.
So,
You've got MS
getting very
Winfield's
close.
progress is slowing. The initial grip out of those softs has died away, but you will, I'm sure, expect to see Robert's mediums absolutely drop off the cliff pretty soon. He hasn't closed much. I don't know if MS Winfield is just cruising now, trying to treat those tyres gently for a couple of laps possibly.
Yeah, as well, recharging the battery. But what I've seen with MS Winfield, it's been kind of interesting. He keeps getting a warning for fuel, so it must mean it's very close to the limit here. He must have underfueled the car quite a bit and expected maybe a safety car or VSC and put it on lean at that moment. But there's lots of if we currently ride on board with him, he gets a few warnings on that fuel symbol, meaning he's not out of the woods yet.
Okay, well, I mean, we know that Aston Martin have got difficulties this weekend extracting enough fuel from the car, but yeah, hopefully it's not a general team instruction for the year to underfuel.
Yeah, that's a very difficult thing with this new game. You cannot run higher or lower fuel modes. You can use a lower fuel mode on an out lap or under a VSC or safety car. But apart from that, if you underfuel the car, then it's going to be very tricky to get that to the end.
You have to save fuel the old-fashioned way by not pressing the loud pedal too hard.
Yeah, so it's very tricky once you've underfueled it. You need to make sure that that's just enough, because you can't always rely on the safety car to put the fuel mode down.
I mean, I'm not seeing the warning come up on my screen, and I'm watching his telemetry, so I'm not seeing anything coming through on my view, but he is driving a fair amount slower than he was before.
Yeah, I'm not getting anything either this lap. He did get a lot going through the third sector and definitely on the straight, so he must have backed up. But actually, currently looking now, it was going to 10 point now. It's back to 10.5, 10.4, so he must have backed off for a bit and started to push again.
I wonder if he just got a warning that he had insufficient for the remainder of the race, and has just done a couple of laps on fuel saving. We'll stick with him and see, but it has just eased the pressure off Robert, who can really just crawl to a finish here. I'm thinking of certain IndyCar races where cars are on completely different tyre strategies and just end up limping home to try and stretch the tyres or the fuel to the end of the race. I wonder if Robert is planning something like that. He's got to keep his eye on the stopwatch and be praying that Winfield makes another mistake.
Yeah, he's being very gutsy though to the curbs, taking nearly all 4 wheels off it. So at this point he needs to really just get this car to the end, because he should alternatively win this race. But if he keeps taking so many risks like these, and of course the drop of grip, if he gets one more penalty, then that's it. But he needs to get the car on the road, and he almost loses the rear, catches it. It's not going to help against MS Winfield, but it certainly is going to put a lot of pressure on his hands now.
Yep.
The lower grips.
I think it's going to be an interesting challenge here. Who drops off the cliff first? Is it a 13-lap-old medium runner or a 6-lap-old soft runner? They're both quite close to the edge, aren't they?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think Robert's 13-lap-old tyres should potentially drop first, of course, because I don't think you could class the softs to be double the pace of the mediums, but double the wear. But obviously they are faster rates. So at this point, I should expect the mediums to go first. Of course, the mediums are supposed to go longer, but I think MS Winfield's softs should go a little bit longer, maybe a few laps.
Well, Robert
I'd
starts
suggest
his
to.
final lap, and he needs a 9-second delta, and we're just going to be staring at that ticking interval marker there, because he's on 10.3, 10.4 as we speak. He's got a little bit of ERS to play with at the end of the lap. What about it's almost exactly the same for Winfield. So a race on the stopwatch to see if he can finish this race with no more penalties and a clear 9 seconds away from P2. At the moment, Carrera, it looks like it's on.
Yeah, he's really starting to pull it down, but now I've just noticed he hasn't got a yellow warning for fuel. He's got red, meaning that's really the last drops of fuel coming into his car. He got it a lot earlier than Robert did. Technically, it should be the other way round because Robert's done more race distance.
Robert is flashing. He's flashing fuel as well. It's down to 9.7.
This is going to be needing everything now.
Let's see if he can just keep the car running. He'll be finishing very, very soon. He's about to hit the final corner. Robert, against all odds, hard charging this entire race, qualifying laps every time. He crosses the line and wins the race for at least 9 seconds. Let's see what MS Winfield, he's getting closer, but it's not enough. Robert takes the win from Winfield in second place after penalties. Following behind will be his teammate, so we'll have 2 Aston Martins potentially here on the podium. Passion Fruit just coming in. He's this far behind. Definitely massive gap to the leader we've seen as Winfield there lost the race by 0.6 of a second only once all the penalties were taken into account. Passion Fruit weaving across the start-finish straight and takes a podium for Aston Martin. Tries a little burnout at the end of the lap, a bit Max Verstappen like from this year in Spain. And here comes Shade to head up to 4th position, a little bit of a wiggle as well. And then much further down, having to pit at the end of the race, couldn't get his tyres to the end. Copy paste will finish in 5th place. And let's see who gets driver of the day, Carrera. But we only had a few drivers, but there was plenty of entertainment and lots of different strategy things to take into account. Copy paste gets the driver of the day.
Yeah, I think Copy Paste actually just took Shade's place actually with the penalties, because I saw Shade actually getting 4 places up when he crossed the line, but Copy Paste was on 2. So I think by the time the penalties and the gaps kicked in, I think Copy Paste just finished ahead of Shade, which is unfortunate. Of course, you never want to lose out on to penalties, but given credit, Shade's come back from last to P5, so it's definitely going to be. And actually, now looking at the penalties, 18 seconds now, I can definitely clarify. Penalties.
Well, absolutely. So we had an Alpine take the win by 0.6 in the end, with Robert in the cockpit, from Winfield and Passion Fruit representing Aston Martin. We have Copy Paste in the AlphaTauri coming in 4th place. As you were mentioning there, Carrera, the Ferrari of Shade, making up one more place right at the end, and Fleecy being the tail runner for Mercedes with an early DNF. We've got Daniel and Dude Multi also DNFing this race. A race of a little bit of attrition and fascinating strategy alternatives, lots of different theories as to the fastest way to get from lights to flag. But that was your evening's racing in the Bronze League of DRL. Carrera, any takeaway thoughts or handy hints or advice for the drivers tonight?
Well, definitely the strategy surprised me a lot. I thought that MS Winfield would have got it back from I apologise already, completely forgetting the name.
Robert in the Alpine, yeah.
From Robert in the Alpine, yeah. But it did prove that he did manage to extend the mediums, so he did manage a soft medium. So But as well, it shows that the softs did go off quite early on for MS Winfield. So it's a good comeback from Robert as well, despite that only on lap 3 pitting for a new set of tires and a new wing. So it's a good result for Robert. A very good result for Aston Martin P2 and P3.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. Let us know if you enjoyed the race, and give us a like, give us a share, and most importantly, catch us all on the next race day.